Drums, please.
Hey everybody, c.note here, and welcome to DOPEamine, the show that is all about personal empowerment and helping you unlock your potential. Today on the show, this is basically a podcast episode, and I don't know if I mentioned before, but I'm kind of changing the format of things a little bit. So I'm going to be doing kind of a podcast episode style of show visually here on camera, so you can see me, hear me talk. People like my face or the background, or I don't know. Sometimes they just like sitting and feeling like you're talking to someone. So I want to feel that with you. And so this is going to be, the audio of this is going to be put into the podcast. So if you still want to listen to the audio feed, there's a link below. Go to our website and you can listen to the audio version there if you have to take it on the go or whatever. Otherwise, hi, here, I'm c.note. Welcome back to DOPEamine. If this is your second or third time you've listened to DOPEamine or watched this show, you can click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. That way you can get notified for future videos. So I wanted to talk today about, the chatbot I was trying to make didn't work. And I want to kind of share a little bit of that experience, a little bit of what that means to me, and what it means for the future of this channel. Because what I've been trying to do with the chatbot is find this way to create a personality test that was just kind of different than what we're used to. We're used to taking more of a either or kind of test, and something that only takes someone's conscious mind into account. So I wanted to create a test that included a verification process that allowed you to kind of take the self-assessment to the next level, but then also show you what it means to get involved with personality profiling. So when I do personality profiling, I go through an interview process, and then we kind of figure out what your type is, and I tell you what your type is, I share that with you, but then you have to verify it, meaning that I can't just, it's not me just telling you what your type is. We have to go through the descriptions of each letter, and then you get to tell me whether or not that actually resonates with you, or if it's something that makes sense for you in your life. So if we start, doing an interview and I start explaining, okay, so you're an INTJ, and I get to the J part and they're like, that doesn't quite resonate. I'm not sure. I don't really think that way. That brand of organization is not something I think about, or that brand of working in the outside world is not something that really resonates with me as an individual. And then we kind of go back and we ask a couple more questions and we continue to explore. So when I was creating the chatbot, that's basically what I was trying to do. I was trying to simulate that experience to not only create something that was a little bit more robust, a little bit more interesting, but also showed an example of what a profiling session is, so that when you're done with it and you still feel kind of stuck, the idea was that maybe you would sign up for a profiling session and work one-on-one with me, seeing that even this chatbot that was a little bit more advanced than other things out there still didn't quite get it, right? And it's really about showing the philosophies of not being accurate. Personality type is not necessarily about being accurate. It's like just giving you something to calibrate to, so that you can find a way forward. And when you go into stressful situations, you can kind of find your way back. And sometimes people wrestling with their personality type helps them in their personal development journey, and gives them room to thrash. That's like a lot of us have to thrash. That's why mistyping is not something I subscribe to. I'll talk about that in the future video, but I don't really subscribe to this idea of pointing out people as mistyped, because it doesn't let people thrash, right? And it's sort of a consent issue too. If someone asks you to say hey, who do you think I am? That's a different thing than to just see someone commenting something and be like, well, it's such an ISTP thing to do. And it's it's not helpful to anyone. But I realized in the making of this chatbot that with the support of the lovely Molly, she was talking to me about it, and basically, like, it was kind of cannibalizing my bottom line. And my bottom line was trying to, in terms of business, was trying to get people to do profiling sessions with me, because that's way more valuable than a personality test. And usually people get coaching alongside that in some shape or form, depending on the varying degrees of like where someone is in terms of being sort of a healthy or unhealthy version of their type. Which is more terminology I'm working on changing, because I don't really like the healthy, unhealthy thing. There's a spectrum of it. It's not either or. It's like sometimes people just have a particular issue they're stuck with. But I realized when creating this chatbot that it was another version of me just trying to be right. I was trying to prove that I could make a personality test better than someone else, or that I was trying to prove my officialness of being a profiler, like trying to prove my ability so that you can trust me and then be able to do a profiling session with me. Because there's the very real SI part of my identity as an INTP, where I don't have the credentials of being a therapist or of being a personality, a coach or anything like that. I'm only relying on my own personal experience. But to me, I have to understand that it's no different than someone working a trade. Like, you become an apprentice to someone, you learn how to develop skills, and then you start your own shop and you do your own thing. You don't need a piece of paper. You don't need a specific thing to prove necessarily that you're good at something, other than just being good at something, right? So I've learned that through art, and that's something, ironically, that I do have a degree in. I am a graphic designer. I have a bachelor's in graphic design, and that is something that I don't feel like I need to prove, because I have the work to show for it, right? So I'm needing to take those principles and apply it to the work that I'm doing here on DOPEamine and on YouTube and on all of that stuff to just continue to show my value, to continue to show that I know what I'm talking about and I can be supportive, and that I have a varying range of value to offer to you and to the world. The difficult thing with letting go of the chatbot was that it was something I got attached to. I spent basically all year on it. I spent a good first 2 months of the year, like really in it every single day, and then just kind of tweaking as the year went on. And people went through it, and it was great. There was a lot of really great feedback. So thank you so much for supporting me in that. That was like, I'm just so grateful for anyone who's given me feedback, because I learned basically two things. That my audience kind of split based on that. My audience started to attract people that I didn't necessarily want to attract. I started attracting people who were just looking for another test. And I don't want to attract people who are just looking for another test. I want to attract people who are kind of tired of tests and want a little bit of help in a different way. They want to get support either with their understanding their personality type and want to know for sure what their type is, or to develop as a person and know how to start developing as a person. And I can help with both of those things. But the basics of just getting someone through a test and doing all of that stuff is like not necessarily what I want to do. Because then you start getting the people who are very, very early into type and who are very much casually doing it. And while I think there's nothing wrong with that, I think that's part of the journey, right? It's like the whole 16 personalities thing. A lot of people hate on 16 personalities, but they have a good business model. They're making money. They're doing their thing. And they're a good introduction to type. And I think I was trying really hard to be an introduction to type. I was trying to basically become like a preschool teacher of typology. And I'm an INTP. I'm more of the professor type. I'm more of a philosopher here on YouTube, more of a theoretical psychology, more just kind of like giving you ideas, personal development advice, just sharing what's on my mind, just talking it out. And it's a little bit of a therapy for me too. I get to like talk to you, you get to hear what I'm saying, and I get to kind of work through it. And I get to encourage other INTPs and other people who are needing to express themselves out loud, like showing how you can, and you can do it without judgment, right? Without assuming that there's going to be external judgment. Even though, yeah, there will be. There's always going to be external judgment. But I'm so comfortable in this space that I'm not worried about that. And I think when I try so hard to reduce everything down to the basics, there's going to be parts of that I teach, and that's going to be on the website, and I'm going to be putting type descriptions up on the website and stuff like that. But I was leaning so hard into trying to be the basics or trying to be unique or original or prove my intelligence, that it was undermining my bottom line. Basically, Molly said it was like cannibalizing my bottom line. And it was really good for her to see all of this chaos that was like I was working on. And she looked at it and she used her extroverted thinking and was able to just kind of see like, okay, look, all this other stuff, it doesn't matter. What you're trying to do is this. So you just need to focus on this, right? And that was helpful to hear that from an external source. Every once in a while, you need to hear that, right? So even though we as INTPs don't use TE in our stack, it's still good to get that perspective from someone who uses that, right? So you can know how to take everything that you're doing and put that in a direction. So there's an example of someone that I work with in the INTP Productivity Brain Trust that they gave me an example of they were working on this project and they had this idea and they started working on it and about a few days in, something started not quite working as expected and they started tinkering and kept kind of breaking and new things were put together and it kept breaking and putting new things together and breaking. It's very consistent with a lot of the INTP experience, right? We really enjoy fixing things, and sometimes we can self-sabotage to keep fixing things. And not saying that he was self-sabotaging, but like we enjoy the tweaking and fixing and the modularity of pieces and how we're thinking about things, that it can create this feeling of just, wanting to either self-sabotage or just keep going and assuming that like, I can do this, I can fix it, I can get it done. When every once in a while you just need an outside consultant, and if you're working on a weekly project, it's a good idea to have consistent external accountability from an FE and a TE perspective, from someone who's going to hold you accountable emotionally, just making sure that you're expressing yourself, and someone that is not just going to be like, it's not just your partner, your wife or your husband, someone that's going to be so close to you that you can't necessarily share every single actual free thought that you want to share. Because like as much as you might share like 80 to 90% of what you want to share with them, there's still a 10 to 20% that you're not. And that part needs to come out too. That's why I have this channel. That's why I have other friends that I talk to that allows me to get that extroverted feeling. And they hold me accountable in a variety of ways. Molly holds me accountable in a TE kind of way. Where she helps me be succinct. She has more of that like focused TE that's really valuable in that sense. So I really appreciate that about her, and having that TE accountability every so often, because usually it happens like every 2 to 3 weeks. I come to her and I say, I've been like really ruminating on this thing and I'm stuck. And then she just is able to just be like, all right, get this crap out of here. You need to just do this. And that helps. It genuinely helps. It redefines my trajectory much of the time. It helps me find my focus. It helps me get rid of the clutter. And the chatbot was part of the clutter. It was undermining what I was trying to do. It was really not helping my bottom line. And it was creating another like barrier between me and my genuine audience. And at the same time, inviting people in that I didn't want as my audience. Right? So a lot of the people that are starting to emerge here on YouTube are people that I want as my audience. People in the comments that are being really great. They're being supportive. They're asking questions. They're providing their insights, their thoughts, their feedback, and really being just wonderful. And I love you guys for that. So I appreciate that so much. So I think the chatbot situation was a lesson for me in not getting overly attached to something and how difficult it is to move on from something that I would get attached to based on how much TI I put into it, how much of my thinking I put into this project. I put a ton of thinking into it. There was like 40 questions. Like a lot of those questions, like people didn't see because they were not of different types. It was a lot of INTPs that went through it, a couple ESTPs, few ENFPs, but it was not the full spectrum of personality types. So not everyone saw all of the questions. And it was supposed to be more of like a conversational tree. So it just like kind of, it was like leading you based on your decisions. So if you were making introvert decisions, it would go down that tree, even though each question still had a way for you to go back the other way if you needed to. It was basically this like kind of, web of questions. And it was a lot of work. It was a ton of questions. I had to think about how everything interconnected. It was really intense. And I'm grateful for that process. So it didn't go to waste, is really what I'm trying to say. It didn't go to waste in my thinking. It didn't go to waste in terms of the feedback that I got. And I was able to see what kind of audience I wanted and really what I wanted to share. Because I think, like I said, I'm like better served as wanting to do more advanced topics. So there was the podcast, or rather there was I should say there was a survey that I put out on YouTube asking you guys if you wanted, what kind of content you wanted. You know, if you wanted something that was like the basics, something intermediate about like cognitive functions, something more advanced about combining systems, or if you wanted me to just say what I wanted. And what I appreciate so much is that most of you said for me to just make what I want. And the second was advanced stuff, which basically lines up. Like I want to talk about more advanced things. I want to talk about how systems connect. I want to talk about how we can use the connections of these systems to personally grow, which is a video idea that I'll probably be recording today. And how we can take the little pieces, little highlights of like spiral dynamics and Enneagram and Myers-Briggs and objective personality and even like chakras and astrology and stuff like that. I'm not saying those things are scientifically valid, and that's exactly the point, is like not everything has to be scientifically valid for it to be useful. So we're going to talk about all of that in an upcoming video. But ultimately, you know, that validation, every so often getting that external feedback of like, okay, the audience wants something from me, genuinely from me, that I can authentically share that is more advanced. And, you know, you don't want the basics. And because I'm not the best at that. I understand the basics, but I feel like teaching the basics is not as exciting. I think there's a YouTube channel called Practical Typing that does a really good job with that. There are other people that are doing really, really good work at teaching the basics of either Myers-Briggs or cognitive functions or any of that stuff. And, you know, been there, done that. I've already worked through a lot of that stuff. And I know a lot of you guys that have come here have worked through that stuff, and you're looking for more advanced resources. And I think that's what I want to bring to the table. I want to treat myself as more of like a college professor, even though I'm not that smart. I'm more of a, you know, maybe like a high school AP a little bit. But I want to play around with like theoretical psychology. I want to, you know, mesh things together. It's a very TINE way of approaching things. And I want to do that. That's part of my strengths. But then at the same time, honoring what you want, honoring what makes sense, making sure that you can, you know, we're not just blasting around like random topics, that there are connection points to things that I offer, things that I teach, and the bottom line of what makes sense for me, which is to offer profiling sessions and to be able to provide guidance and coaching, right? Because those are my two main offerings, are profiling sessions and coaching. Those are the main things that I do, which are all in the links below if that's something you're interested in. So at the end of the day, you know, the biggest difficulty of letting go of the chatbot has been the attachment to the work, which is another SI thing, right? And both as an artist, which is basically what I am. Like, I'm an artist first. You know, I've been an artist all of my life. I've been a producer. That's why I do these videos. That's why I have the intro. I have the website. All this stuff I've done myself. And I used to work for, you know, with Netflix, Hulu, Lionsgate, all of these companies. And, you know, I worked in, you know, I have a degree in graphic design, all of that stuff. And I bring a lot of those principles that I've learned in that experience to the table as well. So I'm going to be talking a little bit more about creative expression, but also understanding that sometimes you just have to let go of the work to make better work. So Molly talks to me sometimes about this professor that she had, or this teacher that she had, that encouraged her class at the time to basically, they would switch palettes. They would go to someone else's canvas and say, like, the teacher would say, like, I need you to erase an entire section of someone else's work. And if you don't do it, I'm going to come and do it for you. And the idea is to not treat the work as precious. And, you know, for me, I'm trying to do the best work that I can, and I want to do great work. But if it comes to the point where I have to erase an entire section of my work, in service of doing better work, then I need to allow myself to do that. And, letting go of the chatbot, while I still have a messenger on the website, like if you want to connect with me directly or ask questions about coaching or anything like that, that's a way to do that. You can connect with me there, and that's still up, and there's like little bits and pieces. And really the last thing I want to share is that, my instinct when everything was breaking, because that's how this started, is that yesterday, everything was just breaking. The chatbot wasn't firing. Facebook was being a pain because it was powered by Facebook. And ManyChat was not very helpful because they were like, it's Facebook's rules. We can't do anything. And I'm like, well, all right. I guess I'm screwed. Because Facebook, basically because of all of the messages that needed to be sent because of the chatbot, because of the test element, it got flagged by Facebook. And I was like, I don't want to deal with Facebook. I don't deal with this nonsense. I'm just, I wanted to burn it all down. I was like, does this website make sense? Does this chatbot make sense? Like, what am I doing? What is the purpose of any of this? Like, why does this matter? And I was just kind of freaking out. So I talked to her about it. I extroverted my feelings about it to her. And she calmed me down. She focused me and helped me really see that, look, your bottom line is that you're trying to provide profiling sessions. So focus on that. The chatbot's not serving that. So get rid of the chatbot and basically just like burn the dead stuff. It's like if you have a garden and there's dead things, like you got to pluck them or it'll spread. The deadness spreads in a sense, it's like pulling weeds. And that was a big thing for me. And that's why she's so valuable to me in my life. And being able to take that philosophy of just burning the dead things is really what's helping me, because I don't want to like burn everything. There's value in there. There are things that are still growing. There are things that are going to continue to help people. Like this podcast, this video, like YouTube is where I want to put a lot of my focus. So I'm going to be making more videos. I want to be talking to the camera more. I want to be combining systems. My philosophies around YouTube are going to be, evolving and growing and changing. And there's going to be videos about that too in the near future. So I want to bring that to the table and bring a more focused attention, because I was starting to confuse myself too with all like the membership opportunities and whatnot. So, really it's like the three things right now that I offer are profiling sessions, coaching, and then the monthly membership for the INTP Productivity Brain Trust. All of that you can find below, click the links and all that stuff. And then there's opportunities also for you if you want to provide some monetary support to the channel to keep this going, because this is the only thing I'm doing. This and some video production work are the only things that I'm doing to make a living, and I want to make this channel work. And I'm going to talk more about those specific philosophies and the goals and the mission of this channel in an upcoming video. So in essence, I think that's everything I wanted to cover around the chatbot. And really, it's like I'm kind of stamping this moment. This is a milestone for me to be able to move forward, to focus on offering profiling sessions. That's why I put up the video recently about what profiling sessions are. And there's going to be more about that in the future to kind of share why that's valuable. And, it's an opportunity to just stop guessing, and you work with a professional and you just know when you're done. And it's about solidifying that milestone so you can start to move forward. So for me, burning the dead stuff allows room for me to grow new things. And that's what this is all about. And this is what this channel is going to be about. And this is what I want to do with the theorizing about philosophy and psychology and personality types and all of this stuff. It's about expansion and growth. And I want to keep encouraging that and sharing my story around that. So that's why I did this episode about the chatbot, because I think there's a lot in here that I've been learning from this experience that's literally just happened yesterday that I think is valuable going forward and could be a pivotal moment for DOPEamine. But things are always changing. So it's about growth and wandering forward for me. So I'm just going to keep adding things, keep playing with things, keep testing things, seeing what works, seeing what clicks, and then every once in a while, checking in with you guys. Like, let me know what's working. Let me know what videos you like. Let me know in the comments what you appreciate. And I love so much that there are more comments starting to stream in that tell me what you like. Because I think we get into a zone where, it's like human nature to kind of focus on the negative, and it's really easy to run to Yelp and leave a review if something bad happened and you didn't like it, right? But we don't run to go give a positive review. So I want to encourage more positive expression. I want to, it's very selfish in that I want the fuel to move forward. But I want to do that in knowing that what I'm saying is working, is helping, is providing some sort of, feedback to you and what you're trying to figure out, and answering your questions, really. So that's the point of communicating. So share with me what you liked, what you didn't like, or if you have any questions, what are things that I can fill in the gaps for? What are something that I could potentially put into like new videos, right? So I think all of that stuff is valuable, and I want to keep making this an interactive experience. So let me know in the comments below what stuck out to you about this video, about my chatbot experience, and if you've had similar experiences that have helped you kind of grow and be a more productive person. So again, there's opportunities below for you to join the INTP Productivity Brain Trust. What you really need to do is just go into, there's a join our email list link below. And in the options, when you fill that out, there's a section that says, notify me about the INTP Productivity Workshop. Just say yes, and then you'll get a coupon code in your email inbox to get 40% off of the membership. So go in there, do that thing. You'll get an email in about an hour, and then you'll be able to go sign up and join us for our monthly workshop. Then there's also a pre-recorded course and additional books and resources and things that I'm wanting to share with INTPs that are learning to be more productive. So go ahead and sign up for that. And if you go on our website at DOPEamine.life, you'll see that I changed some of the language. I'm now focused on personal empowerment, not necessarily mental health empowerment. I think that was muddying the message as well. And though mental health is a big part of this channel still, and I'll keep talking about that stuff, you'll see that the website is more focused on personality profiling. And if you or someone you know could benefit from a profiling session, send them a link to my stuff. We can profile. I've had a couple people say that they were, friends of friends, and they recommended them, and they were all great people to work with. I love having these conversations with people. I love enlightening people to what their personality type is, and really giving them a sense of relief to be able to move forward and, continue to calibrate and live the best life that we can. So with all of that said, I appreciate you for being here. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Thank you for watching the video here on YouTube. Comment, subscribe, leave a rating and review, all that fun stuff. Also, audibletrial.com/DOPEamine. If you go sign up, and you'll get a free ebook. My personal favorite is The Martian. I'm going to try to find some other personal recommendations. I have to go browse through Audible, but I'm sure there's something that you've been wanting to read, and now's a chance to get your free ebook. Go sign up. If you use that link, that also helps support the channel. So again, there's all sorts of stuff below. Go browse, go see what feels good, and that's it. So with all of that said, take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll catch you next time on DOPEamine. See ya.